Peace and blessings, my beloved family. This is your favorite and smoothest professor, Brother O. You know, sometimes praise can become another form of control. That is one of the dangers hidden inside the phrase strong black woman. Now let us be clear from the beginning. Black women's strength is real. It has carried families and empires. It has carried churches. It has carried schools. It has carried movements. It has carried neighborhoods. It has carried entire generations. So the problem is not strength itself. The problem begins when strength stops being a quality and becomes a requirement. The problem begins when people praise black women for surviving what they should never have been forced to carry alone. The problem begins when strength becomes a reason not to protect them. In part one, we looked at how the angry black woman stereotype was created to punish black women when they speak. We saw how black women's truth was made to sound like attitude, how resistance was made to look like hostility, how self-defense was made to look like danger. But here in part two, we deal with another form of control. If the first stereotype punishes her voice, this one exploits her silence. One stereotype says, "Be quiet or we will call you angry." The other says, "Keep suffering and we will call you strong." That is the trap, and it is one of the most dangerous traps placed around black women. The strong black woman image sounds like honor. It sounds like respect. It sounds like admiration. But too often it functions like a command. Endure more, ask for less. Suffer in silence, break quietly. Keep everybody else alive, even if nobody is asking whether you are dying inside. That is why I call it a poisoned compliment. A poisoned compliment is praise that sounds good but still keeps a person trapped. When people say you are so strong, sometimes what they really mean is I am not coming to help you. Sometimes they mean I expect you to carry this burden. Sometimes they mean I know you are suffering, but I need you to keep functioning. Sometimes they mean your pain is inconvenient, so let me turn your suffering into a virtue. And when that happens, strength becomes a cage. Many black women know this scene. The house is quiet, everybody else has gone to sleep, but she is still awake, thinking, planning, paying, remembering, worrying, carrying. The bills are there, the laptop is there, the child's school paper is there, the phone is there, the teacup is there. The body is tired, but the mind is still moving, and the world looks at that burden and says she is so strong. But let us ask a deeper question. What if some of what we call strength is actually abandonment with a compliment attached? What if some of what we call resilience is really a lack of protection? What if some of what we call she can handle it is just another way of saying we are not going to help her? This is not just personal, it is institutional. Families can do this. A family can praise a black woman for holding everybody together while never asking who is holding her together. Churches can do the same. A church can praise black women for service, sacrifice, prayer, cooking, organizing, teaching, cleaning, mothering, and volunteering while rarely asking if they are exhausted. Jobs can do the same. A workplace can call a black woman dependable because she handles everything, then punish her when she finally says, "I need help." Movements can do this. A movement can praise black women for being the backbone while expecting them to do the labor, carry the emotion, protect the memory, absorb disrespect, and keep marching. And yes, black men can do this too. We can praise black women's endurance while failing to ask what they need from us. We can admire their survival while offering too little protection, too little tenderness, too little reciprocity, and too little rest. That is not honor. That is entrapment wearing beautiful language. And the body remembers what the culture refuses to name. The strong black woman stereotype does not remain just an idea. It enters the body, it enters the nervous system, it enters the blood pressure, it enters the sleep, it enters the appetite, it enters the mood, it enters the prayer life, it enters the silence of women who were trained to endure past the point of injury. Research on the strong black woman schema has connected this pressure to chronic stress, anxiety, depression, emotional suppression, and reluctance to seek help. But let me say it plainly. When a woman is taught that love means endurance, maturity means silence, and worth means usefulness to others, she can learn to betray her warnings. Her body may say, "I am tired," but the role says, "Keep going." Her spirit may say, "I need help," but the role says, "Do not be weak." Her mind may say, "This is too much," but the role says, "You have always handled it before." So she ignores exhaustion. She spiritualizes burnout. She treats pain as weakness. She learns to survive in ways that slowly injure her. And I want to be careful here. Prayer is beautiful. Faith is powerful. But sometimes black women are taught to use faith to endure conditions that should have been changed. Sometimes they are told to pray through disrespect, pray through neglect, pray through overwork, pray through loneliness, pray through emotional abandonment. But prayer should not be used by others as an excuse to avoid accountability. Faith should not become a command for black women to keep bleeding quietly. A woman can pray and still need rest. She can believe in God and still need support. She can be spiritual and still say, "This is too much." This begins early, too early. Black girls are often expected to be mature before they have had a chance to be children. They are told not to cry too much, not to talk back, not to embarrass the family, not to be dramatic, not to need too much, not to have many feelings, not to be too loud, not to be too soft, not to be too visible, not to be too vulnerable. The world often reads black girls as tougher, older, and less innocent than they are. So before some black girls even have language for their feelings, they already learn the lesson: need less, carry more. Do not expect softness to be waiting for you. That is not childhood. That is premature armor. And when premature armor becomes identity, the child grows up believing she must always be ready for battle. Even in love, even at work, even at church, even in family, even in her own home. So what is the answer? The answer is not to deny black women's strength. The answer is to stop using that strength as an excuse to abandon them. A strong black woman still needs care. She still needs rest. She still needs protection. She still needs tenderness. She still needs reciprocity. She still needs someone to ask, not just, what can she carry, but what has she been forced to carry for too long? This is where we need a new language. A black woman can be clear without being cruel. She can be tired without being weak. She can need help without failing. She can say no without becoming a villain. She can rest without guilt. She can tell the truth about what hurts without apologizing for the sound of her discernment. She can be loved without first proving how much pain she can survive. We must stop confusing exhaustion with character. We must stop confusing silence with peace. We must stop confusing endurance with healing. And we must stop applauding black women for surviving conditions we should have helped change, because a person can be strong and still be lonely. A person can be capable and still be overwhelmed. A person can be dependable and still be depleted. A person can be spiritual and still be sad. A person can be powerful and still need someone to say, "Sit down, breathe. I've got this for a while." That is what the strong black woman stereotype often steals. It steals permission to rest. It steals permission to need. It steals permission to be protected. It steals permission to be soft. It steals permission to be fully human. And that is the point of this series. Black women do not have to choose between being called angry when they speak and being praised as strong when they suffer. Neither stereotype gives them full humanity. One punishes her voice, the other exploits her silence, and neither one is enough. Black women deserve more than survival. They deserve more than applause for endurance. They deserve more than being called the backbone while others refuse to share the burden. They deserve care, they deserve rest, they deserve honesty, they deserve protection, they deserve softness, they deserve joy. They deserve to be heard before they have to shout. They deserve to be helped before they collapse. They deserve to be believed before their pain becomes visible. This is the language Black women and girls deserve. Not sapphire, not superwoman. Human, fully human, that is the standard. Part 2 has dealt with the second side of the trap. Black women are punished when they speak, but they are also exploited when they endure silently. One stereotype punishes her voice, the other exploits her silence. Neither one allows her to be fully human. In part 3, we will explore the roots of the gender war in more depth, because Black men and Black women did not naturally wake up as enemies. They are not inherently opposed to each other. That division was cultivated, and if we are serious about healing, we must understand who benefits when we stay divided. Peace and power, beloved family. This is Brother O of the O Institute. Visit us for more lectures, courses, stories, education, and knowledge of self. The link is in the description. Remember the history, question the stereotype, and protect the humanity.